Hello, everybody, and welcome to the top 5 new comics for December 4th of 2024. I'm, as always, Chris, and I am very excited for December. Christmas season is here, and it's going to be a very Christmas-filled top 5, just so you're aware. But we'll get to that, because we're going to start with Absolute Superman number 2. This is written by Jason Aaron with art by Rafa Sandoval and colors by Ulises Arreola. I really like that first issue. It's, we got Superman's origin, kind of what this version of Krypton was, the whole class system of Krypton, what the symbols mean, not necessarily the House of El this time around, but more of a symbol of the lower class in Krypton, and what Kal-El's mission has been on Earth since landing here. I assume we'll get more into his past, him actually coming to Earth, maybe some of his growing up, all these kinds of things. But there's a lot of great nuggets throughout this the first issue. You can see on the cover that's on the screen right now, a whole bunch of Peacemakers. And that's because they turned Peacemaker into almost a special ops force for this world. And they're out hunting Superman. See, they know of this person going around helping people, and he's helping the wrong people in so many words. And I just thought that not only was the art really great, did they build this really cool world, make some unique, fun changes to Superman. I mean, just not having the typical outfit alone is a big change for Superman. A little bit of a darker tone to his whole aesthetic, and the storytelling for the first issue was really great. Just all in all, as I've said over and over again through these top 5s, the Absolute Universe has been a blast. So much fun to be a part of. And we're still only 2 issues in on most of the series so far. So I'm just going to say for probably the 100th time in the past couple months, but jump in now. It just feels like we're in the middle of something not only new, but unique and interesting. And every week when one of these issues comes out and I go to the comic shop the following Wednesday, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the Absolute Universe and what's going on and what we think is going to come of it and all these things. It's a really cool atmosphere to be around. So I just think they're really great books. We've got really great creative teams. And in this case, Jason Aaron, one of my favorite writers in all of comics. His name's on the title. I'm at least checking it out. And I can't recommend this book alone enough. So definitely jump on board the Absolute Universe and Absolute Superman in particular, as my cat jumps in the screen. But after that, with Batman Santa Claus Silent Night Returns number 2. This is written by Jeff Parker with art by Lucas Ketner and Michael Bandini, with colors by Marcelo Maiolo and letters by Artist-Brosseau. Really great first issue of Batman Santa Claus Silent Night Returns. I loved not only the first issue of this series, the previous series that they did last year. It's just such a fun team up to have all of these characters from Gotham, the Batman universe, and then all of a sudden this Norse version of Santa Claus shows up. I don't know how else I could sell you on it other than that. It's got this fun Batman feel to it as opposed to the more gritty Batman feel that we're used to. But I like that Batman is so amenable to different types of storytelling. You can do, one of my favorite Batmans of all time, Adam West, you can do a comedy version of Batman and a very quippy and fun version of Batman. And then you can go to one of my other favorite Batman stories of all time, Dark Knight Returns, which is this real gritty and almost somber and depressing story about a man at the end of his life and everything in between. He's such an amazing character to mold with and to write stories for. And in this in particular, you get kind of a gritty Batman, the one in modern comics, but everything going around him is so lighthearted that it adds that flair to it. And it's just, it's a really fun book. Like I said last week, when this book came out, I knew it was the beginning of the Christmas season. It got me in the mood for all the Christmassy stuff going on around me. And I'm just really excited. This is a weekly book that I'm going to be able to talk to you guys about probably every week up until the end of the year. And I just cannot recommend picking it up enough. But after that, I've got DC Comics presents Batman Smells Robin Laid an Egg #1. This has a ton of creators on it, so I'm going to mention a few. We've got stories written by Marv Wolfman, Rick Sanchez, Calvin Kasuk, James Reed, with artists like Paul Peltier, Francesco Francavilla, Anthony Marquez, and Andrew Drillin. I will have all of them in the show notes if you want to know particularly who's in this book, but just that's a small smattering of who you're getting. There's two reasons I'm really excited about this book. One, they named it after one of my favorite, after a moment in my favorite cartoon series of all time. Batman animated series, we all know the Batman Smells Robin Laid an Egg. It's something that was said a million times throughout elementary school into middle school. To this day, I still sing that every so often. It's an amazing moment, and to have a DC special named after is just really cool. Not only that, I do love anthology books, especially the big two anthology books, because yes, we've got Marv Wolfman, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But most of these creators are people that, as somebody just knee deep, elbow deep into comics, I've either tangentially heard of or just never heard of altogether. And that's one of the things I love about these books is you get these short stories from creators that you've probably never heard of and could be the next person to take over name book X. It happened with some of the books over the summer. And then those creators went on to do some of the all-in books that we're reading right now. It's a great breeding ground for new talent to kind of prove to the readers and to the companies that they have what it takes to be a part of this industry in some way. They may not be the next Marv Wolfman, but they might be the next just person who writes a really great character book. And that's what really gets me excited about these anthologies. And we'll talk about another one later on a little bit, but to get my anthology stuff out, it's just one of those tropes in comics. You know, we get a lot of anthology books, and I always, especially at the big two, recommend them based on just finding new talent. With what becomes harder when you get into more small press or independent anthology books, you can do the same thing. You could follow your favorite indie creator, and then he brings on a bunch of his friends, and you can learn who's great in that space. But usually with those, it's the premise of the book that pulls you in. Now, like I said, these books tend to have some name brand talent along with the up-and-comers who the company is trying to introduce to the world. In this case, we have Marv Wolfman, a legend, a fucking legend. And if you don't know who Marv Wolfman is, it's a little weird that you're watching these videos, but I'm happy to introduce you to Marv Wolfman. Marv Wolfman is a guy who's been in comics since the dawn of time. He's written some of the greatest comics ever made. And he doesn't do a ton anymore, but every so often his name does pop up. And when I saw that he was a part of this book, it got me another level excited. And then when I found out that he's doing a holiday story that involves Deadman, I got an even another level excited. If you've never read any Marv Wolfman's Deadman stuff, that's a great place to start. His Deadman books are amazing. So just on that alone, I was in on this book. So I always say, I love these anthologies. I recommend them all the time. I guess I'll say buyer be warned a little bit. They're bigger books, so they are more pricey. One issue, $10. I get that that's a big ask. but I do think that jumping in on these every so often is fun. And yeah, I'll save some of my talk for the next anthology we're going to talk about here in a few minutes. But after that, actually, I say before that, we'll have the Ultimates number 7. This is written by Dennis Camp with art by Juan Frigeri, colors by Federico Belli, and edited by Will Moss. So they're labeling this as the new story arc begins. I guess the last issue I thought was more of the new story arc begins, but they're treating it as the conclusion of the previous story arc where the team finally comes together. It's going to be hard to not talk about this book without spoiling issue number 6. So if you haven't read issue number 6 or you're a trade waiter or something, click ahead like a minute or so. There should be timestamps below where you can just skip this altogether. Just know Ultimates number 7 is on my list, and it's a really great book. So now that you've jumped ahead, at the end of issue 6, we got Iron Lad being held lifeless, dead. And I thought for so many reasons, this was a ballsy move. And I see he's on the cover. We'll see how that all works out. But to have the guy, the character, who basically restarted the Ultimate Universe, who gave Spider-Man his powers back, who was going around trying to collect the Ultimates so that he could have this new super team, dead. Like, that's a huge move. And it shows me that the creators involved with the Ultimate Universe are serious about doing something here. Hopefully it's not a cop-out or it's not a fake-out. I'm going to go with it's real because of how they treated it. So we've got a new story arc here. The Ultimates just got their ass handed to them by Hulk, and who we find out is now also the Iron Fist. And they have to regroup and figure out what they're doing. And I'm guessing that the Hulk was too much for them, that they might need to do a little more training or fight some lower level bad guys in this one. So we're going to get the team together. They're going to go out on a mission here. We don't know exactly who, but they've got their plan. They're going to regroup and they're going to keep the fight going. And we'll see how this leads up to what the Maker's doing and them getting ready for the Maker's big strike. So, like the Absolute Universe, the Ultimate Universe has been a ton of fun. More books. So I'll say there are some books that I'm not as thrilled about. So I guess you could say the hit count is a little bit lower in the Ultimate Universe, but honestly, the hit rate is about the same. And this book in particular has just been a blast through the first 6 issues. So to jump in on issue 7 just seems like it's going to be really great. Get the team back together. Let's find out what the ramifications of the previous issue are and move forward with what this team is going to do. Dennis Camp's been doing a phenomenal job. The Ultimate Universe as a whole, we're getting a big one-shot here soon. We're getting a new Wolverine book here soon. They're doing a lot of cool things with this universe going into year 2 of it. I'm super, super excited about it. And then we'll end with another anthology book. Marvel Holiday Tales to Astonish number 1. This is stories written by Daniel Kibblesmith, Jean-Lewin Yang, Gary Dugan, and art by Dylan Burnett, Pat Olive, Phil Noto, with colors by John Killies and letters by Ariana. Once again, we find ourselves with a holiday anthology book, a little bit smaller anthology book, and less risk-taking. So some of the things I said about the previous one don't fit as well with this because we have especially 2 writers who I'm a big fan of. Jean-Lewin Yang's like top tier writer for me. Whenever he's on a book, I have to see what's going on with it. And then Jerry Dugan's been doing amazing X-Men work forever. So I'm told by my friends that read a lot of X-Men. And then we got Daniel Kibblesmith, who I'm not super familiar with, but I know he's been around the industry doing stuff. So the artists involved, I mean, Phil Noto, come on. Pat Olive, you've seen him, his work, and Dylan Burnett's been doing amazing stuff too. just everyone involved with this book is somebody of note in some way. And while some of the things I said about the previous anthology book don't work, what I will say about this, and it also works into the previous one, I love when the big two do holiday anthology books. Like, the theme doesn't have to be zombies or whatever. The theme can be Christmas. The theme can be Valentine's Day. I jump in on a holiday anthology book because I just think putting these characters in our world where they're celebrating these holidays, these moments of life, just like the rest of us. But then, of course, something spectacular goes wrong, whether it's, as we see on the cover here, a giant evil snowman attacking or something along those lines, is always just a ton of fun. And what I love about this book is we're getting 3 unique stories from 3 of the biggest IPs at Marvel. So we've got a Fantastic Four story where they're throwing a big holiday party. We've got a Kitty Pryde X-Men story that centers around Hanukkah. And then we've got a New Year's story with the Spider-Men, Peter Parker, Miles Morales. Just great characters all around, great themes. I love that they spread around the joy through all of the holiday season for everything that we all celebrate here. And it's cool to see Marvel jumping in on this as well. So I'm super excited. December is here. For me, it's Christmas season. For others, it may be Hanukkah season or Kwanzaa season or whatever season you celebrate. But it's one of my favorite times of year because we're all celebrating something. And that celebration is basically the end of the year and to go out with joy and happiness. And that's what's great about this time of year. So to have so many cool Christmas holiday books going around is just a blast. So everybody, thank you so much for watching this video. Remember, if you want to support me further, best ways to do it on this video, like and comment down below. If you comment, let me know what book you're most looking forward to this week, or what book on my list is an abomination that shouldn't be on there. Whatever it is, let me know down below. And then subscribe to the channel and make sure you get all the videos we do here, whether it's the interviews, the Fortune Common News podcast, and these videos as well as anything else that we post on here. And then you can support me by going on pretty much any social media network. Put in @FortressChris. You will find me there. And then you can go over to Substack at chriscomicscorner.substack.com, where I do a whole bunch of cool stuff there as well. And also check out the podcast, Fortress Comic News. Every week we record a podcast. We talk to a creator. We talk about the comic news, what books we're reading, all this fun stuff. It's a blast. Check that out on podcatchers everywhere. So that's all I have for you this week. I'll see y'all here next week.